Thank you, Paul, and thank you, the SOFAR project, for inviting me in this very interesting conference. It was for me, a pleasure to be here and to understand, since the SOFAR project, how the things are progressing in this place. Of course, I'm in difficulty because I have not the sense of humor of John, so I cannot delight the audience in the same way. And as a professor, I'm normally a boring person. But what I can say is that all of us today are reflecting on a concept that is social farming concept. And what we can smell is that we are talking about relationships between people and plants and animals, but also between peoples, between people and community, between sectors, between competencies, between policies. This is what is fascinating in this concept. We are rethinking the way in which we can live together. So we are sure here because there is the end of the project and normally we have to present. We can discover that there is a path on the ground that is growing, and this is a good news. But we have also to think about what will be the future then. And this is part of the reflection that also in the afternoon we are going to do. So is the social farming concept, is it interesting for us? And in case, as John said, how to mobilize resources, our knowledge in order to improve the concept. Of course, my task is to try to present the Italian situation and to see if there are some common lessons that we can learn together. We started in Italy to reflect on the concept of social farming in 2002. Of course, the concept was already existing on the ground. We just, as researchers, started to codify the things that were already happening on the ground. So in 2003, we did a survey in Tuscany, and we discovered about 60 projects of social farming that were already running, and they were run by family farms or by social cooperatives, but they were on the ground already. This was the startup for a process that we manage with the local authorities to try to network, to discuss, to present the concept and so on. And we were successful because in few times some local authorities started to formally recognize social farming in their own policies. In 2009, Tuscany region approved the regional law on social farming, so to recognize formally by law the concept. And then the period 2010-2014, there was a period of discussion involving new actors on the ground. Today, the estimation of the project of social farming in Italy should be around 2,000 projects. And just a few months ago, before summer, the National Chamber approved the national law on social farming, and now is under debate on the Senate, the other root of the chamber. So maybe by the end of the year, Italy will have a national law on social farming. So it's a kind of process that we can consider as a long-term process, but also as a short-term process, because when we think about such a kind of innovation, 10 years is nothing. When we start to reflect the changing that we are trying to promote. It's a kind of process of transition from we consider the state market division of roles that we are normally have experienced since now, try to recombine the way in which market, but not only market and state, also community, can redefine way of living on the ground. What kind of type of services we do have, or we are planning in a way? Of course, there was the point that services are not always the same. not always involve the same resources, not always have the same costs. This is true. Because we can have services like co-therapy that are devoted to attend, to receive people with specific needs, and that absorb specific resources that are expensive, of course. But we can have also other kind of civil services, like to improve proximity, to host elders that are in needs for 1 week, the need to have support for their daily life. And in this case, social farms has a good chance because it's spread everywhere. In all rural areas there are farms, of course, and there are resources that are already there. An example that I normally do to the farmer in Italy, we have a lot of agritourism. Thousands of agritourism all over Italy. In Tuscany is one of the regions where there are the largest number of agritourism. We are able to host people from everywhere in the world. Why we are not able to host the neighbor that are in needs for 1 week in winter and so on? So this means that there are already resources because the beds are already there. The problem is how to mobilize some beds in order to reorganize the local proximity services for the community. Yeah? So this is another way of thinking to the social farm that, of course, has some costs that have to be compensated, but on a different way. And then there are activities like job and social inclusion, where the participation of people in the daily life of the community may also help the activity, the processes at agricultural level. In this case, in our reflection, how to promote, valorize, give value to the products is part of the indirect recognition to the farmer. So to rebuild market, if you want, in the perspective of ethical concern. The actors involved and the things are quite similar. Of course, we have a lot of different targets groups that are involved in the practices. There are different activities that go from therapy to social inclusion to vocational training, education, and so on. There are different actors that are involved in co-projecting the activity from the health and the farm sector. We have a strong third sector that is involved with social cooperative A and B, but there are many farmers that are providing already services. And then there are the institutions. So one of the main problems is how to reorganize all these actors in the perspective of new models of providing services. Services that needs to the rural as well as to the peri-urban areas. We are reflecting, and most of the things that has been said also today here move around three concepts, if you want, that are subsidiarity, in which way the state is able to move the resources that are in the civic society in order to provide better services. The idea of co-production, in which way the provider of services and the users of services can design better services, in which way we can produce economic and social values at the same time, in which way we can produce public and private goods at the same while. So this is the concept of co-production we are discussing about. And the other aspect is the civic economy, because we were used to work in the community. Most of the people that have taken the floor have talked about the community, rethinking about the life in rural areas and so on. My grandparents were farmers. They were not used to talk about profit. But the way they were used to talk about quality of life in the community, hard life in the community, of course, relationship inside the community, and so on. Our world is changing. We will never, I think, experience anymore the same economic growth that we had in the past. We have to redesign the way in which we will be able to fit our needs in a prosperity of the community, but also the environmental limits and the competition that is on a broader scale. So to think about civic economy is to think about how to obtain good social values, good public goods, but in the perspective of economic sustainability. And this is what also the farmers are asking, trying to ask support in order to make them possible to stay alive into the community, providing their support to the life of the community and to be part of it. So there are several levels of complexity. I don't want to enter too much into the details because I know that to speak before lunch is normally problematic. But we have talked a lot about how to organize resources at farm level. There are other levels of complexity, of course, how to organize public-private partnership in this project, and how to make possible that at the territorial level we can spread with activities. As John said at the end, we need more farmers, we need more activity like this, but also how to organize new laws and new policies on that. We tried as university to build some project to build public-private partnership. I just want to give you some outcomes. We have figured out that in 1 kilo of vegetables, there are 6 minutes of social inclusion. There are benefits for consumer about 0.70 euros because they spend less than in the supermarket for fresher food and organic food. There are 0.74 euros of public reduction in expenses because they are using more effective and less expensive services. So it's a kind of win-win solution that I can understand that it's difficult to move resources from traditional way of building the services to novelties. But this is something that we are asked to do because money, public funds are reducing and reducing. And we are talking about pilot experiences. For sure, when the SOFA project was established, was done a kind of project with an agenda, with a work plan, and so on. Then there were the experiments, the pilot initiative that we are revising today. We are now reflecting on what are the results of such activities, but all these kind of things can be done in a more continuous way in an arena. So what we are proposing in our country is that at local level there are arenas for social farming, normally driven by the public authorities, where people can enter, being farmer, being from health authorities, being from association, users, or whatever, to share, to build a new knowledge, because this is what we need, to create new knowledge about how to provide services, how to mobilize local resources at farm level in order to fit local needs, but also to promote organization, how to move far from the single experience to the contractualization of farmers, how to recognize services, and so on, to create new shared ideas, a sense of possibility about how resources can be used. So we did some like this in the Turin area, just involving farmers. In 4 years, we managed to involve about 40 farmers, 15 social cooperative and association, municipalities, health sector, by creating 35 job positions paid by the market for less empowered people, and 100 of services for the local people, mainly from the Turin area. So I'm now going to conclude. The Europe in the EU 2020 strategy is talking about smart, sustainable, inclusive growth. For sure, social farm is a clear example in this direction. It's smart, it is sustainable, it is inclusive. Of course, we have to face some policy challenges. That is to better finalize resources that we are going to plan in the next future, in the 2014-2020 agenda. In all political environment, being rural development plan by better mobilizing resources for activity like this, but also with social policies, regional development policies, and so on. There is a sense of responsibility that I would like to underline in my conclusion. So we are really, for sure, I'm talking from the Italian perspective, we are really facing a dramatic situation in some cases. I was in Greece in August, and out of the metro there was the same waste place that was explored 3 times in 1 minute. So in the cities there are dramatic situations, and we have the needs and the responsibility to find suitable solution to make possible for the future to think about prosperity. This is up to us. This is up to us as a researcher. This is up to us as technicians, as politicians, to find the right way to feed the needs of the people and to try to build a new future. This is designed for a strong commitment, and for sure all the people that was there show a strong commitment to the idea. This is what we need also in the political definition for the future. So I would like to thank you very much for inviting me again and for giving me the floor. Thank you.